we're shining a light on the vital world of home care and the compassionate individuals who make it possible. Today we address the mental health in home care, the caregivers that face unique challenges. We discuss signs and resources and support. My guest today has lived the life and journey of what I would call a man on a mission. Please welcome Reverend Dr. Noel Sims. It is an honor to have you on our show today.
And I am deeply honored to be here. Thank you.
When a man has walked a life such as yours, there's a lot to be told. Tell us from whence you came.
Well, I am the son of one of the greatest single parent, mother that raised me, Loretta Sims. And I was born in Jamaica, West Indies. I came to the United States. I was very immersed in the church because as I was born, my mother had me going to church.
Yes.
But I had a thirst for knowledge and questioned a lot. But my faith was rooted in something bigger than myself. But on the journey, I made some wrong turns. I was raised in Brooklyn, Bedford-Stuyvesant. And I made some wrong turns.
Yes, but
By
survived.
the early years of my faith,
yes,
I felt that God steered me back and placed me on this journey that I'm on now.
Thank you so much, God, for staring back, because there's a lot of brothers that find themselves in positions that they wish they could say that someone was there to steer them back. And so today we applaud you for the staring back and being able to hold on to that rein and take yourself to this position. A Harvard graduate, I might add. Tell us about your university days.
Being in the University at Harvard is a miracle and a mission in of itself, because prior to going to Harvard, 1987, I was caught up in some addiction issues. And my school grades suffered, and ended up having to go through some treatment for substance.
Right.
But in 87, while I was in the facilities, I met God, and God promised me that, and I asked God, if you get me through this, I will continue to do your work. And from 87 to 89, I learned about, for the first time, I started learning about counseling and therapy. And with that, I applied what I learned. And in 2 years, by the grace of God, my grades went back to a 3.7. And I graduated from New York City College of New Rochelle, and my professor said, where do you plan to go now for grad school? And I said, maybe he said, no, your abilities is more Ivy League school. So I applied to Harvard, and lo and behold, they accepted me.
Wow.
And that journey was wonderful, because I felt then still that was a mission, because there I was made such great impact and conversation with diverse student body.
Yes.
Got voted to be the student body president, as well as ended up being the graduation speaker. So I felt that was a divine moment.
How did faith play into your entire trajectory over the course of all that time, trying to talk to people about what you had gone through, how you have immersed?
Well, faith for me, and especially when I went to the university, I met some of the great professors who was able to mentor me. But this whole notion of faith for me then started shifting from just being religious,
Right,
and to being able to connect with something and someone bigger than me. And so in learning scriptures and in learning about God, I started embracing the notions and the theology, which is our concepts and talk of God, of the Imago Dei, the image of God, being created in God's image. So
Serious.
though we have all of these voices in the culture saying black bodies are inferior, there's something in me saying, but if I'm in the image of God, God is in me and I'm in God. So it inspires me to push forth for excellence.
After you left Harvard, what did you do?
Being in Harvard, I started realizing the history of dehumanization of black bodies
Yes.
and how that has played in creating these two-tier system in our culture. You have the ins, the outs, and those that are being pushed to the margins.
Right.
And so I made the decision to come back into the inner city, the urban schools,
Nice.
and to work in churches. But a lot of pastors were not kind of comfortable with my depth of theology and questioning. And they wanted to go the traditional route. And so it was a little tension there. So I took my ministry and took my pulpit to the New York City Public School.
Nice.
And there we were able to impact children. And education in and of itself is from this Latin word, educare, which means to pull out. So all children have value. And so that was my responsibility to help pull out of them what's already in them and then give them some skills to manage that.
Oh, and I'm sure this was just an amazing winner to be able to teach children. What ages did you?
Elementary school.
Wow.
And
How long did you stay in elementary school?
I stayed in elementary school for 20 years. And I did adjunct professorship for about 5 years. And so that was my pulpit.
Oh, wow. What an amazing way God has used you.
Yes.
What do you think about mental health? We had earlier conversations on mental illnesses, on medical, associates having to deal with mental illnesses. What's your take on mental?
Well, again, looking at the history of people of color, myself with a black African person in the diaspora, I say, is that we've been taught how to think about ourselves. And how we think about ourselves determine how we feel about ourselves. And how we feel about ourselves determines what we do with ourselves. Yes. And so this history of people of color with slavery, colonization, they've taught us 16th, 17th century ideas that black bodies were inferior. Black and brown bodies are inferior. And so I read people like Dr. the Gruery, who talks about the effects of slavery, of mass incarceration, what that does to the mind, and what that does to the individual's concept of themselves. My specialty is more in trauma study,
I see.
as being put forth now by Basil van der Kolk, who talks about the way trauma affects the brain and the body, which creates a lot of mental issues.
It's so nice to know that you took time out of your journey and just enhanced what God had for you and understood it and then shared it with the world. We have to take a short break. When we return, we will continue our conversation with Reverend Dr. Noel Sims.
You've done the hard part. You quit smoking. Now do the easy part and get scanned for lung cancer. If you smoked, you may still be at risk, but early detection could save your life. Talk to your doctor and learn more at savedbythescan.org.
Multiple studies have shown that marijuana can slow both driver reaction and response time, which can be really dangerous. He's here. He's here. Wait. What? I can't drive. Why? My. Oh.
Welcome back to Talk with Maria. We are talking with Reverend Dr. Noel Sims about mental health in home care. In this segment, we try to figure out how to recognize the signs. Dr. Sims, tell us a little bit of how people walk around, they're smiling, they're laughing, they're talking, but deep inside when they're alone, there's something going on mentally that shifts the whole paradigm of what we call the norm.
The trauma is some unfortunate event that's so overwhelming that affects the brain. It causes the brain to go through different phases. And then that is projected into the central nervous system. And then it gets stored in the body.
Oh, wow.
And so Van der Kolk's work, the book is called The Body Keeps the Score. People have certain triggers. So if you pay attention, you will see things that trigger people. And certain things that trigger people becomes obvious if you build relationship, if you listen, if you observe. For some people, a scent can set them off, and they can remember a person that had the same scent that violated them.
Right.
So you just have to pay attention to people's triggers, and you do that being present, being observant.
That's interesting. How did Paula Freire
Freire.
play a part in influencing the ministry?
Well, Paula Freire, for me, was very instrumental. His book is called Pedagogy of the Oppressed, and it talks about the power that lies within oppressed communities. And often we think that the folks on top is going to liberate us and have all the answers for us. But the answers, I feel, is organic. It's among us. It's trying to empower ourselves to stand against forces that tells us that we don't matter and forces that try to define us. And we're the people that's going to be able to uplift ourselves and even help the culture to transform. And I feel that even the messages that I carry is a liberatory message that if people will listen, it can have great value for reconciliation, for unity, and for social transformation of all.
What would you say to caregivers as they go into people's homes and they sense that there is a shift that they need to bring forward or to discuss with the client?
Each of us always come to the table with something. And if we're providing care for people, caregivers are providing care for people, they must also understand that although someone may be sick or maybe even have a mental condition, they're still valuable people with valuable experiences.
Yes.
We must always see the image of God in the other.
I totally agree. Tell me some of the thoughts and some of the highlights of your life.
The first one for me was my 15-day excursion to climb the pyramids. And there I learned a lot about ancient civilization, theology, cosmology, and those things. And that kind of inspired and enlightened my thinking. And as a lover of knowledge, I guess, graduating from Harvard and preaching, there is a great highlight. And have my mother walk with me, you know, coming from Bedford-Stuyvesant and transforming through addiction and gang involvements and watching me walk across Harvard Yard with my mom. I thought that was a great highlight, leading the class of diverse student body to deliver
I could feel that moment, and I was not there. Oh
to
my
deliver
goodness.
a message to the
So
to the
empowering.
graduates. Yes, very empowering. And then the third one was this May, having that piece of paper that says Dr. Sims, but not just getting the paper, but immersing myself in trauma study. And not only just going out to say, well, you're sick. I let my story be transparent so people could feel that it's possible to heal.
Absolutely, yes.
So I'm on this side of healing now, and I'm able to be transparent about it and let people know it's okay not to be okay.
Yes.
But there is a place of healing.
I thank God for your life. I think that God has truly walked with you. We have to take a break. We will be right back with more from Dr. Noel Sims.
I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Our back and forth. It always came back. Dad! You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
We are taught you don't talk about your problems with nobody because you could get in trouble. And I've been through a lot. Anxiety, depression, sexual assault. When I decided to get help, my life changed. And the mental health box, that was one of the big tools. Accepting help means that we are allowing somebody to bless our life. It's freeing. We got stronger together. Love your mind.
Welcome back to Talk with Maria. Today we are talking with Reverend Dr. Noel Sims about mental health and home care. Let's talk about the support systems and the availability. We want to talk a little bit about theology because it's not just sitting on the pulpit, it's not just preaching to people. People should not just be sitting there wondering, I'm just going through all of this, what's God going to do with me? And how am I going to tell the world? How am I going to tell someone? And what's going on?
Theology is just the way we talk about God. I found that spirituality is so essential and critical. That's empowering. But religion can be problematic because religion comes with teachings and doctrines that sometimes, even in preaching, re-traumatizes people that are looking for hope.
Yes.
So for example, people go to church and they've had a trauma episode and they're sitting there in church, and just the fact that you're talking about, you're a no good sinner, you're
Right.
gonna burn in hell.
Right.
That's a re-traumatization.
Right. I'm never going back to church again. That's what I came here to hear.
Yeah.
Right.
So if you have to be able to teach people about doctrines without demonizing them and re-traumatizing them. So in my work as a theologian, I started looking at how the church in my research had people like my mother. My mother loved God and she just saw God way in the sky and over there is bigger than everything else. It's all in the hands of God. I don't have to worry about anything. He's going to work it out. But we've been saying this for 400 years in America, and we haven't seen those kind of qualitative change. Now, psychologically, it's been soothing for my mother, for my
Yes.
parents. But what does that do to the social injustice and inequities, brutality that I face as a black man going to church in a suit, gets pulled out of my car, thrown up against the car? You look at the diaspora where black bodies are found and they're suffering. And so we need to understand concepts of God that are more calling us to be more responsible. So I've come up with this concept called human-ocentric, which is human-centered theism. Theism is God. So this human concept of God says, yeah, God is transcendent. God is out there. But God is also immanent.
Yes,
God is
right here, yes.
He's in our
Yes.
reality. And now he's here with a God. And we're waiting for God to change the social narrative. And God is saying, I've given you free will.
Yes.
And I'm so concerned about the human. When we read this passage that said, for God so loved the world, that's humanity,
Yes.
that he gave. So
Yes.
God has a mission for humanity. But here's where the difference comes in with human-centered theism, is that God says, yes, but it's not just all in my hands. I've given you free will,
You
and
gotta
I'm
do
calling
something
you
too.
to
Yes.
partnership.
Yes.
Bible tells us faith without works is dead.
Yes.
And so you can have all this faith on Sunday,
Yes.
but you have to get out in the community like yourself
Yes.
and be immersed in
Yes.
care, be immersed in community. So some of the things we do now, I'm not in the pulpit anymore. I've created a safe space for men of color. It's called the Melanated Men's Network. We're going into barbershops. We're going into churches that will allow us to create sacred space for black men who have just lost their faith in religion, in church, to show them that spirituality is different from that, create safe space for them to talk, also share our stories, and also encourage them to get beyond the stigma of mental health therapy to kind of create a community where we could encourage each other.
Are you planning on going to the hospitals
Well,
or the mental health facilities?
yes, yes. Right now we started with it. And that's great. And so that's a start for us. But we just need access to these places.
Right.
Once we get access to these places, we're open to go into all places. Because part of my ministry before, I did a program for returning citizens.
I see.
So we went into the prisons. And then when they came out, they had a place to come to, which was called a station of hope. And we would continue that nurturing and helping them with reentry, housing, and all kinds.
That is such a wonderful job. And you've silently sat there and pulled everyone together. I mean, it's just amazing, because some people sit there and they say, well, where do I go from here? You have to start somewhere for something to happen. And you have taken your work far and wide. Is there a book in the making?
My book is in the making, and I'm working on it now. I'm like on 10 chapters, but exactly what I told you, very transparent.
Yes.
Talk about my pain, my trauma, understanding that my landing in a rehab and my journey with addiction was only, not that I was a bad person, was only trying to cover up the pain of my father dying.
Right.
So I had this hole in my chest. I didn't have my father. So I was trying to find my father.
Right.
And so...
And your Holy Father is right there saying,
yeah, yes.
I'm still your Holy
Yeah.
Father.
And this is the message to people that are dealing with mental health issues. Don't let the stigma stop you.
Right.
Because beyond...
Don't let the stigma stop you. I love that.
Once you're healed, the possibilities are so great. Because after healing with my own issue, is now I'm able to pour into my son.
Yes.
I'm able to pour into my daughters. I'm able to pour into others.
What's next after we heal? Let's take a break. We will return and conclude our conversation with Reverend Dr. Noel Sims on After You've Healed. Stay tuned.
Julie was always a voracious reader. She carried 2 novels on an airplane because she'd read one on a 3-4 hour ride. And at some point, I began to notice that she would read a page and couldn't remember what she had just read, and she'd have to go back and read it again.
I don't remember much these days after I read, but less does for me, and I love it.
Eyes forward. Don't drive distracted.
Welcome back to Talk with Maria. Today we are talking about mental health and home care. Reverend Dr. Noel Sims shares with us what are the next steps after you're healed.
Next steps for me, I continue to do ministry virtually.
Yes.
And that allows me to continue to promote spirituality. And as a preacher, I'm skilled in interpreting texts that are empowering and not making people feel beat down and guilty about being less than perfect.
Right.
And so I've now working on a platform where I can have rooms where I could do master classes, free Bible study, as well as social justice classes. And in this current conversation that's happening now, we help people to understand how to be aligned against the oppressive nature of empire, just to get well, get healed. And we're talking about home care providers. They are the front line, yes, and they do a great job, but they too have to be mindful that they may be dealing with patients that have chronic illnesses and sometimes just inherited trauma, because it goes back 3 generations, and they themselves can become not well because of secondary traumatic stress. So part of my rhythm of life is that daily morning meditations. I have a therapist, and I believe everyone should have a therapist. I have a spiritual director. I have a coach. I have a mentor. And so all of these people are my village that help me to stay well, because it's so easy to fall back into bad habits. So I promote this, I teach this, work in collaboration with other agencies, other people that just need to be in the conversation, because I don't know it all, but I need to be enriched by other expertise, because we have to build community. And if Van der Kolk talks about how trauma gets stored in the body, part of healing is through mindfulness exercise, building community, things that will quiet the body and help to reorient the brain after traumatic experiences. So these are things that I'm teaching, writing books, lecturing, and so these are the things that are in my future.
Thank you so much for giving yourself to the world.
I am honored and I am humbled by the invitation. Thank you. Thank you for the work you're doing. It's very inspiring.
Thank you so much for joining me on the Talk with Maria show today. I hope you found our conversations informative and inspiring. For more information, visit our website, talkwithmaria.com. Remember, caregivers, your well-being matters. Take small steps to self-care today. Dr. Sims, thank you so much. Talk with Maria is made possible by, if you're passionate about helping others, become a certified home health aide with Home Health Aide Training Institute, 516-333-3689, or visit hhati.com. Experience the authentic taste of Italy in the heart of Westbury. Rialto Restaurant. Make your reservation at 516-997-5689. Brooklyn Boulevard Home Care. They care for you in the comfort of your own home. To schedule your care, call 718-683-8303.